Fáilte. Welcome to another video on the Mórrígan lore, and we are focusing on the Badb today and on one of the stories that is not very well known, Choca's Hostel, and yet the prevalent appearance of the Badb as the washer at the ford is very, very well known in Mórrígan lore, but not many people know where it actually comes from. So I thought we'd look at that story today because I wanted to go through it anyway. So I thought, I'm going to be reading it, I might as well just read it out to you. Okay. Oh, and I'm wearing my Neil Fibagum Tá Bivagum t-shirt, which means I don't have a problem. I have a Badb. So I thought it was an appropriate one. I was actually wearing it anyway, but I have been looking at the Badb lore and focusing on that for a while. We did our sacred site video, no, our sacred site visit with videos for Patreon to the actual location that is referenced here. And I did a little bit of detective work to see if I could find the actual ford where she shows up. And I have detailed that in a blog post, which I'll put a link to down below. And I'll put a link to the t-shirt as well, if you can buy that too. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen and we will go through this. So actually what I want to, yeah, we'll just start here. So this is this is from Review Celtique, and it is Whitley Stokes' translation of this. So there is another one in a book. Let me see if I have I don't have the codex. Okay, well anyway, it'll all be in the link below, okay? So the blog post that I talked about will have all these resources in it. So just go and have a look at that. It's up on my website. And once you get into the link that will bring you to the text, you just flick forward to page 148 and you will get this Choca's Hostel, okay? So I'm just going to read it out, and if there's any kind of commentary or anything as we go along, I will share that with you, okay? So when Connor, king of the Ulia, that's Ulster, treacherously killed the sons of Uisneach, his predecessor Fergus and his son Cormac migrated in disgust to Connacht, where they were hospitably received by the warrior Queen Maeve and her husband Ailill, where also Fergus became Maeve's paramour and Cormac won the love of Skenev, the wife of Craftina, a famous harper. Okay, so this is the preamble, presumably by Stokes. So we're just going to go through that as it's there on the screen. On Connor's death, the Ulia resolved to make Cormac their king. They accordingly sent envoys to solicit his return. He and his 300 followers set out for Ulster, but Craftina followed him vengefully, and in the course of his journey he violated his taboos or geisha and broke his promises to keep peace with Maeve. The following tale tells of the consequent destruction of Cormac and almost all his men by the troops of Connacht at Choca's Hostel, now Bruidne in County Westmeath, about 6 miles northeast of Athlone. It ends with a lament by Fergus, who had been hindered by Maeve's allurement from marching to rescue Cormac. This tale is found in 2 manuscripts, H318 and HI17, belonging to the Library of Trinity College, Dublin. The former A was written in the 16th, so 1500s, Common Era. The latter B in the 17th century, so 1600, Common Era. Both copies are often corrupt, especially in the metrical portions, which I have omitted. That is one thing that super fucking pisses me off, is the poetry is just, oh, we're going to get through it, is just etc, etc, etc. We get like the first line of the poems and then Stokes didn't bother to do any of the rest. Now, fair enough if they're corrupt, but anywhere else that the text is corrupt, it just put for the missing bits. So neither is complete, but each to some extent supplements the other. It has been noticed by O'Donovan of Four Masters, AD 1415, O'Curry, Dennis H. Kelly, and Arba de Jubanville, But so far as I'm aware, no part of it has been published, save the passage quoted in Review Celtic. And all those references are all there. So what we have as we go through it is we have the Irish on the left-hand side. Get it here. So we have the Irish on the left-hand side and the Whitley Stokes English translation here on the right-hand side. So it starts with, "Evil are the omens that thou askest for us, says Cormac. Grimly thou chantest to us." Is that where it starts? Let's check back. Oh, no, wait, what's after happening? No, we should be on. I'm after messing up. Hang on. Apologies. What were we on? 148, was it? 148. Okay. Now, so let's just flip right. Woohoo! Okay. We got this. Yeah, so Irish on the left, English translation on the right. The Hostel of Choca. After Conor's death, the Ulia were holding a council to know unto whom they should give the kingship. Some were saying that Fergus MacRoig were fittest for them to ask to be king. They had suffered evils from Fergus while he was in exile, and they declared that they would not have him as their king. Others said it should be Cormac Conling, son of Conor, who was fittest to reign over them. Conall Cernach was seeking the kingship for his fosterling, Cuscra the Dumb of Macha, another son of Conor's. The Ulia prepared to deliver battle to each other on account of this, and Cuscra refused to give battle for fear that the clans of Ruadhraga would mutually fall. Conall Cernach was not there to tempt. He blamed and reproached his fosterling for the refusal. Said Gennan Brightcheek, son of Cofa, "Now I know the makings of a king of Erin, to wit, Cormac Conlinga, son of Conor." Just a note on my pronunciation. I speak modern Irish. These names are often in Old Irish, so I may screw them up. So I'm not going to apologize for my Irish pronunciation, which is not perfect. I am out here doing the work and improving on it. I'm going to Irish language lessons. But again, I am improving my modern Irish. So it is not perfect. And anybody who would like to make perfect versions of it, then feel free to do your own. Okay. And if you're not doing your own, feck off at yourself. So that is to particularly to a couple of Gaeilgeoir who have been criticising my work lately and ridiculing me for my schoolgirl Irish, which I've always been very, very upfront about. My Irish is not perfect. I am doing my best, and it is more or less on track, and it does waver about a little bit, okay? But you know what? It's better than somebody who has no familiarity with Irish, and it's leading the way for people to, and of course there's different dialects and all the rest of it. So it's leading the way for people to at least get an ear for how the language could be pronounced. Okay, so brief aside there. Also, I hate people. I really hate people. You are fine, obviously, dear viewer of my YouTube channel. You are perfectly fine. As long as you're not giving out to me for my Irish language pronunciation, because there's a whole lot. It's better to be speaking broken Irish than perfect English, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm doing my best. Okay. So anyway, where were we? Now I know the makings of a king in Erin, to wit, Cormac Conlinga, son of Conor, the noble youth of Erin, and he is endowed with all the gifts, to wit, gift of shape and of valour and of hospitality and of truth and so forth. 'Tis to him, moreover, that Conor, in expectation of death, commanded Coca, I don't know what that word is, kingship to be given, for Cormac was the eldest of his sons, and he is the bosom fosterling of Fergus, who never plundered us when he was with Cormac. and the Ulia agreed in this say of Genan's. So Genan probably is a druid. Kafa is or was at this point. I'm not sure if Kafa is still alive in this particular point in the Ulster cycle, but Genan is probably a druid as well, to be making pronunciations in thus manner. Then they sent envoys to Cormac in the province of Connacht to fetch him to them to be crowned. Genan Brightcheek, son of Kafa, Amergin the poet, Imran, son of Kafa, and Uahektak, son of Faradak. So the troop of charioteers fared forth till they were in Crochany. Usually it's Crochany. Alil and Maeve and Fergus besides were there, and they made them welcome. Maeve asked tidings of them. Then they announced that they had come for Cormac to make him king in place of his father. A messenger was sent to Cormac, who was then hunting at She Nenta beyond the water. Now, I'm not sure where She Nenta is. I haven't been able to find a location for that. But obviously a Connacht She. Cormac came to Crochan, and Maeve bid him welcome. It were meet for thee, quoth she, to benefit us. Thou didst seek for kindly service of our food and our raiment. Thou art a fosterling of ours. Thou wast treated hospitably when thou camest to us. Never mind pronunciation of Irish, I can barely pronounce the English. I will be serviceable to thee, saith Cormac. No refusal of request shall be made by us. It will be a gladness to us to grant it to thee. It's one of the things I freaking hate about Whitley Stokes is the pseudo fucking flowery ye olde English speech that he pops in. Gannon related to Cormac the design with which he had come. So a messenger was sent by Cormac to his people, who were billeted throughout Connacht, and they came to him quickly from Iris-Dovnan and the outlying districts of Connacht, both women and man and boy. Now these were Cormac's life prohibitions, to wit. So these are his gasha. And this is really important because as he's going through, you'll see that each individual gash is being broken. A taboo or a gash to listen to Crafton as whole-headed lute. A taboo to pursue the birds of Mach Da Kyo. Mach Da Kyo is a loch name in County Roscommon, as far as I know. And Crafton is the harper, as we saw earlier, that Cormac had fallen in love with his wife. A taboo to drive his horses over an ashen yoke. A taboo to, oh, my apologies. Pursue the birds of Mach Da Kyo. That is the plain of two mists. I'm not quite sure where that is because what I was thinking of, a taboo to swim with the birds of Loch Low. I think that's Loch Name in County Roscommon, which is beside Roscommon Castle. A taboo to tryst with a woman on Shanath Moor. A taboo to hunt the hill slope beasts of Mach Shanov. A taboo to go with dry feet over the Shannon and to visit Choca's hostel. And these were Cormac's taboos, which Cafa the wizard left him on the night he was born. I don't see the one about not letting a single man or woman into the hostel, which does feature later on, but maybe we'll get to that. On the morrow, Cormac set forth from Crochan to proceed on his way. 300 warriors was his number, besides women and boys and hounds and servants. So he had 300 male warriors, presumably, plus all the rest. On going out of Crochan, Cormac made 3 bands of his people. The first of the bands wore blue forked mantles with brooches of silver therein, and over them short capes, and they had brief kilts to the knees, and in the hand of each man a mighty spear. Shields fringed and speckled they bore, and swords with pointed hilts. The second band had ribbed shirts at their skins. Mantles speckled and beautiful they wore, with brooches of white bronze, manes over their heads backwards, bright shields and 5 barbed javelins they had, and shining-faced ivory-hilted swords. The third band then wore hooded shirts and tunics of satin thread. Shields brown and huge they bore. swords with ... on them at their belts. ... is where the text is unreadable or untranslatable by the translator. An 8-edged javelin in the hand of each man. Mantles purple, 5-folded they wore, with brooches of silver and gold therein. In the very midst of this group was a warrior, fair-haired, long-tressed, a strong and mighty guardian, with the noise of a king and the clamour of a host, even Cormac himself. Okay, so presumably that is a description of Cormac in the midst of this group. Now the wizards were foreboding evil and uttering ill omens to Cormac. They declared that the journey would be neither easy nor speedy. So on that very day, taboos of Cormac were violated. Namely, his hounds hunted on Mach Shanamh, and he was pursuing the birds of Mach Togail. Okay, I was right the first time. Mach Togail means the plain of two mists, as far as I know. It says here, today called Loch Nanain, the Loch of the Birds. And Loch Nanain is that lake in County Roscommon, beside Roscommon Castle, where Roscommon Castle is now, just outside Roscommon town. Moreover, Crafton the harper went to him and played his whole-headed lute to him in order to ruin his reign and his life. For Crafton's wife, Skenniv, daughter of Skehern, the wizard of the province of Connacht, Cormac's paramour. 'Tis this Skenniv that trysted the 3 trysts with Cormac at Athlone, and 'tis she that planted the trees of Athlone, to wit, grief and dark and hard dumb. And Oller and Meth and Mishkus were their names, whereof she said, the names of the woods, motion of tidings, are sadness and dark and hard dumb. Round the great plain they run their race, Oller, Meth and Mishkus, oiliness, fat and hatred. That sounds like curse talk to me. I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but there's definitely more otherworldly stuff happening. Thereafter they went athwart over the wood. The yoke of Cormac's chariot broke therein, and so it is called thenceforward the wood of the yoke. Then a yoke of ash is put under his chariot, another taboo violated. Thereafter they fared forward over the district of Main Verdaghil, man of 2 hostages, till they reached Loch Low. Cormac entered the loch and was swimming with the lake birds, another taboo violated. There it was revealed to Crafton that they were on the brink swimming with the birds of Loch Low. So Crafton shaped thrice 50 youths into the form of birds, with the poisonous spell on their wings, and they came on the water of Loch Low and shook their wings on the hosts. Thereafter they were asleep beside the lake, awaiting their people, till Skenniv came to them in the semblance of a hawk and killed all the birds save only one. So Skenniv is the wife of Crafton, who is now saving them from a curse. So this is the bit then that is particularly relevant to us, I suppose, in our search for Badb. Thence they went to Drim Arhir, which is now called the Garman, on the brink of Athlone. Then they unyoked their chariots. As they were there, they saw a red woman on the edge of the ford, washing her chariot and its cushions and its harness. When she lowered her hand, the bed of the river became red with gore and with blood. But when she raised her hand over the river's edge, not a drop therein was lifted on high, so that they went dryfoot over the bed of the river. So this is the Badb in her role as the washer at the ford. And this washer at the ford is, it's a role and a function that is taken on by various of na Mórrígan, the Mórrígan, the great queens. But the washer at the ford is its own thing as well, FYI. Is a spirit or an entity. So most horrible is what the woman does, says Cormac. Let one of you go and ask her what she is doing. Then someone goes and asked her what she did. And then, standing on one foot and with one eye closed, she chanted to them, saying, I wash the harness of a king who will perish, etc. So we don't get that full poem, unfortunately. The messenger came to Cormac and told him the evil prophecy which the Badb had made for him. Apparently thy coming is a cause of great evil, says Cormac. Then Cormac goes to the edge of the ford to have speech with her, and asked her whose was the harness that she was a-washing. And then he uttered the lay, O woman, what harness washest thou, etc. The Badb, this is thine own harness, O Cormac, and the harness of thy men of trust, etc. See how frustrating this lack of poetry is. Evil are the omens that thou askest for us, says Cormac. Grimly thou chantest to us. When they were there, they saw a damsel, dear and shapely, coming towards them. So this is a flip then from the Badb, who is the, providing prophecy and doom from the other world. And then the flip of this is the damsel, the fair damsel. A light green mantle folded around her. In the mantle, a precious brooch on her breasts. A smock, bright-hooded, gold-threaded next to her skin. 2 blunt sandals of white bronze between her feet and the earth. And that 2 blunt sandals of white bronze between her feet and the earth is, again, a common theme with otherworldly beings. And it's one of the ways that you know that you're dealing with, one of the other crowd, somebody from the other world, when you're reading through a story like this. An ornamented curch on her head. She sat down close to Cormac, and Cormac made her welcome. Art thou coming on the journey with me, O damsel, says Cormac. Nay, replies the damsel, and I were fain that thou wentest not, for the ruin of thy life has come. Grim is the man who reached thee this morning, Crafton of the harper, when he played his whole-headed lute to thee. For this did he come, to violate thy taboo, so that thy life may be short, and that we may never come together again. I have gone this time, because henceforward we shall never meet. Then she spake as follows. If it is thou, O Cormac, etc. Then the damsel quitted them, and bade them farewell, and chanted this, Taboos will come to me, etc. Now, this damsel is curious to me, and I really, really wish I had the poetry, because I am reminded of the Mórrígan coming in the shape of a fair damsel to Cullen at a ford and offering help or support. So I don't know what's in the poetry, but there is kind of a familiar wang off this to that. Again, you have that kind of flip side of the crone, the hag, all that stuff, and the and then the beautiful maiden, and these are the kind of pairing or the balance of the beings out of the she or from the other world, who are either there to help or to hinder through the stories. So Cormac slept for a little space at the end of the ford, and an awful vision was shown to him. Thereafter Cormac awoke. 'Tis then that a division of Connachtmen pitched a camp in Jarek, after wrecking and raiding a party of Ulia. Those who were there were Shanov, son of Ketch, son of Maga, and Baron Brack, son of Ketch, and Dove and Quivjan, Quinshalach, 2 sons of Lov Lota, and brothers of Londfiach, and Main Ahramal, son of Aliel and Maeve, and Garman Guivlach, son of Daman, and Bwijach, daughter of Forgeman, the she-warrior, and Ucha Beck, son of Ucha Run, king of Fircrava, i.e. king of one of the 3 Connachts, and a huge host along with them. The Ulia said to Cormac, It is not meet for us, they say, that women of the Ulia and their kine should be held by outlanders in our presence without our delivering battle for them. We ought not, answers Cormac, to outrage Maeve or her people, for the country has not been wrecked in an attack upon us. Woe, says Dovtak, to him who shall go before the Ulia to be taken into kingship, and who lets them be wrecked by natural enemies, for the tribes of Connacht are not truly friends. Thus let it be done, say the evildoers and destroyers. We ourselves are going, say the evildoers, whether Cormac comes against us or with us. So the Ulia arise and uplift their banners of battle, and march to Mac Derg against the wreckers to the plain of Jarek, i.e. Jarek Dollar of the Fomorians, who fell there by the Tuatha Dé Danann at the mustering of the Battle of Mocktura. Wherefore, from him it is called Mac Jarek. So a little bit of Dinhenicus lore in our, just thrown in there into our text, as is often the way. These are the battle leaders who are with Cormac, namely Ilan the Fair and Feachra the One-Eyed, two sons of Fergus, Avergin the poet, Uachtach, son of Ferdoch, three sons of Traglathan, namely Shidua, Currach, and Carman, 9 sons of Scale, namely 3 Flans, 3 Finns, 3 Khans, 3 Phalons, 3 sons of Niall, 3 Cullis, 3 sons of Shechal, Luan and Eliach and Ocha, 2 sons of Suavach, son of Shavguva, 2 of Cormac's foster brothers. 9 comrades of Cormac were there, namely 3 Dungusses, 3 Dulgusses, 3 Dongusses, and Dovtak, the chaffer of Ulia, and his 2 sons, namely the 2 Awns, and 9 sons of Lair, son of Etherschale, Finn, Ucha, Ilan, the 3 pipers, 2 A's and 2 Fergnas, and 4 horn players, Drek and Drovel and Ahernia, the 3 wizards, Finn and Eruath and Fahaman, the 3 Spencers, 3 Uchlatecs, not sure what that word means, Uich and Witch and Ashlinga, A and Ochid, 2 sons of Brickru, and Ilgavlach, and Conlach, daughter of Giavgelcha, Cormac's foster mother, and Conlach, daughter of Sharva, Dovtak's wife, Cocht the Bloody, son of Ilguna. So that is 3 mentions of female. I'm going to presume they're warriors because they're listed in. Is this a list of warriors, or these are the battle leaders? So they're basically generals. Okay. So obviously they're playing an important role anyway, whatever the role is at the time. They marched with dry feet over Luan's Ford, which is Athlone, due eastward against the other force, and the 2 armies meet, and there they fight a sharp, hard combat. Each of them remains hacking and mangling and striking the other. That fight was a ... of unknown folk, and an attack of foes on foes. At the last, by dint of mutual slaughter and smiting, the battle was gained over the men of Connacht. There fell by Dovtak and by Ilan, son of Fergus, Dov and Cuivjan, Quinchloch, 2 sons of Lawfota, 2 brothers of Lanfeach, at Cruach Dov, whence it is now called Dov here and Tir Cuivjan. Baran Brack, son of Ketch, was slain by Fecha, son of Ferfeva, on Mach Baran, whence the plain is called by that name. Then Garman Gevlach, son of Daman, Maeve and Aliel's major domo, fell by Cormac Conlongus in the angle on the hither side of the ford, whence it is called Garman's Angle. Drum Narhir had been its name until then. That is the same place name as the ford, which is now Drumcree, so Drum Narhir. was the original name, and then it was moved to, it's actually still Garmanstown. Garmanstown is the townland when you look it up. Again, it's all detailed in that blog post. I did all the detective work there. Then Erchel, son of Condor, fell by the elder Flan, whence it, the road on which he was slain, is called Shli Erchel. And Flan died on Tulloch Flan, Flan's Hill. Uahechtach, son of Ferajach, fell in the counterstroke by Shanov, son of Ketch, son of Maga, and by Main Ahrimal, son of Alil and Maeve. Hence the plain on which he fell is called Mach Nuaha. Mach Nerig was its name from the Battle of Maechira, and from the time of the Tuatha De Danann down to this battle. Mach Nuaha was its name from the battle down to the time of Columkill. Mach Nura was its name when Columkill scattered the mould, of St. Ciaran, Mach in Char there, to expel the demons thereout. The mould of St. Ciaran. That's some saintly bullshit right there. Anyway, Connacht, daughter of Giavgelcha, the she-warrior, Cormac's foster mother, fell at Connacht's break by Main, son of Alil and Maeve. Luan, son of Shunach, was slain at Athluan, Athlone, so that from him the ford was named. Now that's interesting because that's a direct contradiction to the Dinhenicus from the Tawn, which says that the Athlone is named as the ford of the loins, Athluan. So those are two contrasting Dinhenicus. So Dinhenicus is the lore of place names. So it's how the landscape came to be known as it is known. Buideach, daughter of Forgeman, slew Luan. Also, Ilan the Fair and Ilan the Brown, twins whom Caval, daughter of Maga, bore to Ocharon, were killed at the ford. Hence the river is called Naheven, the twins, for the twins is the name by which they were called. And that's the same word as Evan Maca, or Alan Maca. Is that it? I guess it is. And that's it. So we end with some just some interesting Dinhenicus lore, and that kind of a story would have been used for ancestry as well. So people would have been tracing their ancestry to certain of the warriors who fell at this battle. I don't think that's the end of it. I wonder, does it show up again? I'm just going to pause the recording here, and because I'm sure you don't want to see me go through it all. Be right back. And I'm back. Oh, no, wait, that's too big. Okay. So in the Hostel of Coca, this is obviously a compilation of various issues of Revue Celtique from 1870. I suppose, you know, in one sense, Whitley Stokes can be given slightly for his outmoded thinking. But we have flipped ahead to page 312, okay, and the story picks up again. Afterwards the Ulia gather into one place. Evil are your deeds against Alil and Maeve, says Lonfiach, son of Lawfutta, to kill their people. The deeds ye have done against them will come against you. This is to threaten us by thee, thou slave, says Dovtak, giving a spear thrust at him. Then Lonfiach went away from them in wrath and hostility unto Alil and Maeve. So the Ulia, after their great victory, went on towards their country. They were discussing in what place they should sleep, for it was the end of the day, and they were broken and wounded. Let us stay here, say they, in the house of Dochoka the smith and his wife Luat, daughter of Love Lun, at Slieve Malon. We will not stay, says Amerkin, near our foes after doing evil to them, for the district in which Coca dwells belongs to Maeve and Alil, to wit, the district of Fir Malon. We will go and proceed to our own district. 'Tis indifferent to us that it is night. Mighty are the deeds of Maeve. No foe of hers should neglect her. We are not afraid, says Dovetock, of her coming to us without warning, while Fergus is in the west behind us. 'Tis easy to evade the man thou mentionest, sorry, says Ilan, son of Fergus, for slack is his perception. So they settled a halt in Coca's house. Thither then they went. It was one of the 6 royal hostels of Erin in its time, namely Bruidne Coca on Sliabh Malon. Every hostel used to be at a meeting of 4 roads. Whosoever was in them was given only one thrust of his flesh fork into the cauldron, and to each happened only his proper food. Every hostel was an asylum of the Red Hand. Okay, so, and that is a reference to a murderer having a red hand, so an asylum from bloodshed, basically. The thrust of his flesh fork into the cauldron is the camping portion, basically. It's a traditional camping portion. So it's showing that there's magic and brightness core that is happening in the hostels, but also then core is the word for cauldron as well. So you have this sense of everybody gets their proper food. So everybody's taken care of in exactly the manner that they deserve, basically. And they have this asylum from murder and bloodshed. So Coca entered the house together with 50 apprentices and his wife, even Lua, daughter of Lon. They make Cormac and his army welcome. Then they all take their seats in the house. Now when they were there, they saw coming to them towards the hostel a big-mouthed, swarthy, swift, sooty woman, and she lame and squinting with her left eye. She wore a mantle threadbare and very dusky. Dark as the back of a stag beetle was every joint of her from crown to ground. Her filleted grey hair fell back over her shoulder. She leant her shoulder against the doorpost and began prophesying evil to the host and uttering ill words, so that she said this: Sad will be they in the hostel, bodies will be severed in bloods, trunks will be headless above the clay of Coca's hostel. Then the Badb went from them and ... So this woman is showing up. The Badb has shown up in the fort already, obviously, and then she shows up here. And this dark as the back of a stag beetle is really interesting because the river, I did a little bit when we went on the site visit to the washer, the place of the washer at the fort at Drumcree. It was after I was there, I did a little bit of research into the place name. So the river is called the River Deal, and it comes from, it's Deel, and it comes from Dale, which is Daoil, which is beetle. So as black as a beetle, and this is a reference that comes up again and again, and it's interesting that the river is named for it as well, as far as I can tell. So there came tidings of the Ulia from the north. They thought their envoys were delaying while Cormac was apart from them. So they sent great bands southward to Crochu to meet Cormac and press him strongly to come and be made king. These are told that Cormac and his people had gone athwart them to Shan Off Moor, the great old ford. Then they followed them at full speed to Shen Off and to Mórrígan. There they see the field of battle. True, say they, this is the track of Cormac's sword point. Then they fared forward straight to the hostel. So, and just in case you didn't pick it up, she leant her shoulder against the doorpost and began prophesying evil to the host and uttering ill words. This is the squinting with her left eye, and she lame. So this is the This is a reference or an echo, at least, of the standing in the doorway, um, 1 foot, one eye covered. So it's not quite saying that she was doing the crane stance here, but it's definitely an echo of it or a reference to it, slightly more obliquely. Now as to Cormac with his people in the hostel. They had not been long there after the Badb's prophecy of evil to them, and they gloomy, tearful, mournful, when they heard Gennon speaking to them, and he on the edge of the hostel. Gennon is the Druid, again, Prophet's son. I see warriors now coming straight over Jarek from the west, and methinks they are all Ulia. Pride and exultation arise in the spirit of Cormac and his people when they saw their heroes and their battle soldiers coming towards them to the door of the hostel. Then the Ulia enter the hostel, and each takes his place therein on couches, as was their custom, that is, no inferior in the place of a superior. Avergin sat on the champion's seat to the right of Cormac. Cock sat down at the doorpost in face of him on the other side. Fiacha, son of Fir Ava, sat on the champion's seat on the king's beautiful left hand. Fiacha Céach, son of Fergus, sat by the other doorpost. Ilan the Fair, son of Fergus, on Cormac's right hand, and Dovtach on his left hand. Every man thereafter sat as he was entitled by reason of father and grandsire. Now touching Lon Fiach, this is here declared. He went to the place where Aliel and Maeve were, and tells them his tidings. So they consulted the Connacht men in a council as to what they should do. This is Lon Fiach, who has said that we were doing the wrong thing by attacking the Connacht people, and that they should, and he fecked off back to Maeve. So Maeve said, Fergus shall be cajoled by me, and he shall be detained here, and the Connacht men will pursue Cormac and storm the house upon him, wheresoever he sleeps tonight. Then Maeve began severing Cormac from Fergus, saying, It were easy for thee to crown the son of the man who banished thee from thine own country, and to see the son whom he, instead of thee, begat on Ness, crowned in thy presence. Cormac was the son of Ness, once the wife of Fergus by her own son Connor. So then Fergus consented to pursue Cormac. After him then went the sons of Macha, including Ketch and Alia Ardagach, and Uchabek, son of Ucharon, and Main Intugab, son of Main Morgar, and Main, son of Ketch, and Machorab, son of Connor Redbrow, son of Finn Macrossa. 1,000 heroes was their number. Lon Fiach too preceded them to guide them. No body among them was shieldless, nor ham spearless, nor girdle swordless. Then sang Suavach, son of Sabguva, the Shanachie and fosterer of Cormac Conlin. These staves, prophesying to them all that would befall them, for he was a seer and a man of great knowledge. And he said this, Woe who thrusts something after Lon Fiach, son of La Fata, etc. Now, Shanachie is a storyteller. He is singing the staves. That has to be an Ohm reference, doesn't it? I would say. And it's interesting that they're connected to the song. So the host fared forward to the hostel and sat down near it, waiting. Then they sent spies, Corb to wit, and Corb Galia, to the hostel, and afterwards these returned to their people and declared to them their tidings, and what kind of folk and usage they beheld. We reached, says Corb, a huge palace with an angry, furious folk therein, with variously wondrous garments, and beautiful foreign bucklers, and sharp-pointed javelins. On some of the men were fair dishevelled back-manes, on others clipped heads of hair, and on others heads of hair round and equally high. We know these, said Lon Fiach, the household of the king and his soldiery. Woe to him that attacks them, woe to him that should attack them. Many warriors will they have in a litter of gore defending their lord. Then we reached another house on the summit of the hill. Women with bright limbs and hyacinth eyes were in that house, wearing various many-coloured garments of red and blue and green. Gentle, broad-crowned boys were there, and hounds in leashes, and musicians and minstrels and players. From the ... of every road comes a multitude to seek the house. We saw no warriors or soldiers there besides. These two we know, says Lanfeach, to wit, the womenfolk of the king and of the queen Ev, daughter of Celcar, son of Uchacar, and hardily will their blood be defended in that house, says Lanfeach. We reached another house there, says Mochcorrab, which is below it on the slope of the hill. It was arranged with lords and mighty men and kings' sons and great princes, and beautiful bright nobles. Though there were no great light or royal torches therein, enough of radiance there is from the various garments and manifold ornamented brooches and gilded shields and swords inlaid with golden wire, and the parties of princes and great lords who were in the house. I could not recognize Cormac himself, unless it were he who was in the mid-beam of the house, to wit, a man noble-faced, tall, with a gleaming eye in his head. An even set of teeth he hath, a visage broad above and narrow below, fair, long, golden, flaxen hair upon him. A beard he hath, two-forked, long, ... He wears a purple gown with a brooch of silver therein. A hilted sword is in his hand. Royal is the countenance, and an over-king's tumult he hath. This then, says Lanfeach, is Cormac, according to the description of him. So the destroyers sat down, waiting for the end of the night, wreck, that is, to destroy the hostel. While the folk of the hostel were musing, Avergan slept a little time. This is what appeared to him in his sleep, Connachtmen destroying the hostel on them, and each slaughtering another around it. Out of his sleep he awoke in horror. Be ye silent a while, says Cormac. What is that there? Then says Avergan, the low roar of championship, etc. Arise, O men, says Avergan. Let each of you get ready his weapons, for foes are coming to attack you. Not long then were they at these musings till the hosts came outside and made 3 circuits around the house. They utter their battle cry. What we feared has reached us, says Avergan. They will get their answer here among us, says Cormac. We have warriors for them. Then Suavach, son of Savguva, went eastward after the expedition in order to warn his fosterling, Cormac, and he reached Tulloch there, the Hill of Tears, that is, the tears of the blood which the Dagda had shed there on meeting the report of the death of his son Cormac. Hence it is called Hill of Tears. Didn't know that. Now, when Suavach saw the flame of the wrecking inflicted on his fosterling, he did not endure it, and his heart broke. Wherefore, from that time to this, the hill is called Drum Suavach's Ridge. The men besieged the house where Cormac was, and fires were set ablaze in the place. When Lanfeach saw this, he repented having brought foes to attack his father. Then he entered the palace that he might do battle along with Cormac. But Dovetoch dealt him a blow with a claymore and cut off his head. So that was the hostel's first death blow. Then the fires are kindled at every point at the hostel. Fergna, son of Fincona, rushed forth and killed 50 of the men, armed, fit for combat, and he quenched the fires and drove the hosts out over the ridges and came back unhurt into the hostel. But the host returned to the hostel and kindled the fires. Then Fiacha, son of Farava, rose and quenched the fires and killed 100 warriors and drove away the host. Again the host returned and kindled 4 vast fires in the hostel, a fire at each point and each side thereof. Then Dovetoch comes forth and quenches the fires and drives the host bitterly and mercilessly and kills 100 of them, and then turns back to the hostel. At 5 points in the hostel the host kindled the fires. Then Ilan the Fair, son of Fergus, sallies out and quenches the fires and kills 100 of the host and drives them over ridges. But Louis Red Hand came and took a great battle stone on his shoulder and hurled it at Ilan, son of Fergus, and left him lifeless. Fiacha, son of Ferfive, took the stone on his shoulder. That is a hero's uh, faggot, and faggot there means a bunch of sticks, not the nasty word that is used as a slur against gay people. So that is the hero's bunch of sticks, says Avergin, and shame will come to them therefrom. Fiacha hurled the stone out at Louis, and so that he was lifeless. Then Ketch got the stone and cast it into the hostel and killed a man with it. But Fiacra Céach, son of Fergus, seized the stone and by it killed a man outside. Howsoever, 7 are killed by it outside and 7 within. Dovtak hurled a cast of it out over the hostel, so that it was the one stone that is now at the well of Kel Lashra. The royal hostel is now Kel Lashra, for at that time there was no royal hostel without water through it or water near it. 'Tis of that stone Avergin sung these words. Fiachna's bundle of sticks, a hero's shame, etc. Of it was also sung, the stone that is at the bottom of the hostel is a stone that left troops lifeless. Louis Redhand hurled it at Ilan, son of Fergus. Fiachna hurled it on Louis, the hero in a litter of gore. 2 heptads of heroes, were slain by that stone. Some stone. Then the one host went forth to the other. It is better for us to go out, O warriors, says Cormac, so that we may put the fray outside. Whereupon he uttered these words in going to the fight. An awful cry is the hostel's cry, etc. Really wish we had this poetry. Thereafter they sallied forth from the hostel and brake out before them its sides and hero doors, and formed phalanxes of hardy battle after the coming thither of their people from every point. And a keen hard conflict is fought between them, so that there were grave beds of heroes in the midst, and blood reached their girdles on each of the 2 sides. Girdle with belt. Cormac finds a rock of a stone underfoot and hurled a cast of it on Mórrígan, so that he shattered his shield and cast him down to the ground. And this is the stone that is now in the well in the middle hostel. He had not finished rising up when Cormac and Cacht, son of Ilgwine, came to him and killed him. Now wherever a champion of valour was within, he bore his breach into the brilliant, vehement battle, so that afterwards they were all dispersed and scattered by each other. Every one of them followed his ... into the battle on either side. Away out of the battle went Uchabek, son of Ucharon, king of Fircrava, and Main Antacad, son of Main Morgor, and fell on the hill of Triumph by Cacht, son of Ilgwine, and by Cormac Conlongas, after weariness of conflict, so that there still are many graves on the hill, and it is called Beck's Hill from Achu Beck, son of Achuron. Now, I'm going to pause again and just make sure that seems like the end of it, but it might not be. So let's have a little pause and flick through the rest of the manuscript. So imagine on hold music happening here. Now, wouldn't you know it, there's more. So we're on page 388 of 440 pages in the whole manual. So I'm guessing that this is the last section, okay, and 2 sections 60 of the text. So we keep going while we're going, all right, because we don't know what else is going to show up, and I want to know how it ends. So they returned victoriously to the hostel, but few were there after their destruction on the hostel green. The 2 Ons, that is Dovtak's 2 sons, were at the ford. Each of them had slain 9 men in the massacre. Hence is the ford of the Ons, east of the hostel. Clártha Cloan fell by Ketch, son of Macha, in Clártha, and from him that hill is named. Bacán fell by Avergin, and from him Ard Machan in Creach Malon is named. Len fell in Loch Len in Bodamar. Moreover, Crech Sunjum and Crech Dundum were slain on the height of the Crechs. Cleovoch Kethroch fell by Dovetoch, hence is Cleovoch's Ridge. Aon, son of Maga, fell at Aon's Ford by Fiacu, son of Ferfeva. Feadoch, son of Aon, fell at the ford of Feadoch's Recess. Conloch, daughter of Urv, Dovetoch's wife, fell at Conloch. Buideach, daughter of Forgeman, fell at Buideach's Lawn. So I think that's all the female warriors who've been accounted for and died, unfortunately. Then a combat came to pass, to wit, Cormac Conlingas and Dovetoch and Amergan and Cocht, son of Ilgrinne, on the one side, and Ketch and Aliel Ard Ágach, his brother, and Main, son of Ketch, and Buanan, son of Damán, on the other side. Buanan perished by Dovetoch. Main fell by Avergan. Together fell in a duel Cocht, son of Ilgrinne, and Aliel Ard Ágach. Corv Galne made towards Cormac Conlingas through the combat, and Cormac fell by him and by Ketch. And this is what the book of Drumshnechta declares, that he beheaded Cormac, and that Anlón, son of Derga, son of Maga, took the head to Athlone, whereof this was said, when the two Owns were slain in the hostel by the troop, etc. Others declare that Avergan forbade the beheading, and hunted Ketch from Cormac, and wounded Ketch thrice. However, it is the other version that is in the books. So this is supposed to be how Cormac fell and how he died. Then Choca is killed in the hostel, but his wife Luach, daughter of Lum, went to Luach's loch, and a burst of gore brake from her heart in her breast, so that from her Loch Luaha is named. Howbeit then of the 100 Connacht men that came, there escaped only 5. Of the 300 Ulia, there escaped only 3, Avergan the poet, and Dovetoch, and Fiacha, son of Ferfeva. Imran, son of Cathfa, had fled forward at night before the destruction. Avergan made the king's grave and mound, hence the place is called Cluan Duva, the lawn of the mound. Avergan was in great tribulation over the king, and was proclaiming his qualities, and he said, Great is the grief of the Ulia after the destruction of their royal champion in unfair fight, etc. Of these tragical deaths at the hostel, this was sung. Cormac was slain in the hostel, and Ilana the Fair in blood, etc. Touching Fergus, this is here set forth. So this is what Fergus was up to while all this was going on. When he was staying here in Crochu, behind every one, his servant Ergarv went to him and told him of the march of the Mains and the sons of Maga after Cormac and his people, to capture their house on them, wherever they should sleep. By Fergus then his horses were caught and his chariot yoked, and he went forward following the host to arrest the destruction. Thereof he had no good, for he found ahead of him none alive in the hostel save Avergan and Dovetoch and Fiacha, and they were red with blood and wounds. Then Fergus sorrowed and made a mighty lamentation above his dead fosterling, and beat his palms together, and there were tears of blood that he shed. After that he made a swift circuit of the battlefield, and found there the bodies of his household and his friends and his comrades and his fosterlings. It was enough of woe to be looking at him from the grief he shewed in going from one corpse to another. In gazing at Cormac in his litter of gore, he did not feel the death of his own sons. And he said, Sad it was to my red blood, etc. Then Fergus, after making the round of the battlefield, came to the place where Avergan and Dovetoch and Fiacha, and he was soothing them and praising them, for, seeing them gory and mangled, dread and fear affected him before them. Wherefore he said this, and sad, wretched, sorrowful was he in converse with them. And Avergan answered him, Fergus, my heart is a prison of gore, and my fire and strength have perished from it, etc. So that might be the end of it now. No, not the end. Overgan said, I and Cocht with valorous act wrought a bold deed in the bloody battle, etc. And this so far is somewhat of their goings and their deeds. And Dá Choca's hostel is this tale above. Now, a couple of notes on just at the end of it are chanting spells standing on one foot and with one eye shut is a common incident in Irish magic. So Lou sings round the Irish army to ensure their success. So in Bruidne Derga, Colv chants her baleful prophecy, standing on one foot and using only one hand and breathing only one breath. Compare also the Nianicus of Loch Dá where Kekul's 300 men come, each using only one foot, one hand, and one eye. The apparition of the Badb at the ford resembles that which, according Macroth in his Wars of Turlough, was seen by de Clare and his troops before their destruction. And elaborate description of this damsel's hair, lips, teeth, breasts, flanks, forearms, thighs, calves, and feet. That's the pretty lady who came and sat beside Cormac. May we presume that she was Crofton's wife and Cormac's paramour, but this is not expressly stated in either A or B. So that's an interesting one because she had the blessing or the breaking of the curse and the cursing of the trees. So her being an otherworld woman would make sense if that was who showed up. Remember we said that the shoes of bronze between her and the earth. Here both copies are obviously abridged. The archetype doubtless contained a description of Cormac's vision. As to female warriors, see Battle of Ventry and list more lives. In Europe, they corresponded with the Russian Polynitsy, Germanic Amazons, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so the statement that every Bruidne, i.e. each of the 6 Bruidnes above named, was an asylum for the Red Hand, seems to show that the ancient Irish had institutions resembling the something of the Greeks, cities of refuge of the Hebrews. The ascription of the number 6 to the Bruidnes may have been in imitation of the number of those cities. Okay, and there's multiple other notes which you can go and read. Just looking for anything on the Badb. Nope. Okay, and that is it. So I believe I did a shorter version, just version of this before, and I'm pretty sure I put it up on YouTube. But I just wanted to give the full version and make sure that the whole complex was available. So slán go fóill, and I will see you in the next video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And feel free to use this material for educational purposes. Okay, and links to everything that we've mentioned are below.